Greetings, students, and welcome back to Monday's edition of Distant Learning, Week 5 with Mr. Wong. Today we're going to be reviewing adding and subtracting algebraic expressions. There'll be one homework question to solve, and that'll be done by copying and completing the last question on the slide. Let's proceed by reviewing the rules for adding linear expressions with the vertical and horizontal methods. From last week, we took a look at this problem. 2 times the quantity of negative 7.5z plus 3 plus the quantity 5z minus 2. Every time I say the word quantity, it is referring to the group of expressions within the parentheses. We have to employ our distributive property because there are 2 of these negative 7.5z plus 3's. If we can actually mentally think about it, 2 of these will result in negative 15z's plus 6. With the horizontal method, we first have to employ the distributive property of the first expression. Again, we will result in a negative 15z plus 6. We then write and add the second expression, 5z minus 2. We want to rewrite any of these subtraction parts as add the opposite from our previous integer rules unit. This is a negative 15, so it remains the same. We'll have to write this minus as a plus sign with the negative 2. We then combine like terms by using the commutative property, grouping the z's together and the whole number constants together. In this case, we employ our addition rules. We have 15 z's that are negative plus 5 z's that are positive. We'll end up with 10 extra negative z's, and in this case, we'll end up with 4 extra positives from the whole numbers. Our final result is negative 10z plus 4. I want to see the work just like this if you want to work it out horizontally. If you would like to do it vertically, we first use the distributive property again, finding our result. We then rewrite any subtraction parts as add the opposite. In this case, we stack these vertically. We don't even need to use the commutative property because we already see that when we add negative 15z's and 5z's, we'll result in 10 z's that are negative, and combining these will get a result of 4. Let's look at the previous work examples from last week, showing all the steps. We take some time to rewrite this as add the opposite, and then we stack the x plus 3. Since it's already sorted with variable first and then the whole number, it's already stacked neatly. We can see that the x's combine to make 3x, and negative 1 plus a 3 results in a 2. In this case, we have a minus 7 that we'll have to rewrite as plus negative 7. Stack this vertically underneath. We see that the 8z and the negative 8z cancel out, and negative 7 plus 4 will give us 3 extra negatives for a result as negative 3. In this case, we do have to employ the distributive property first. So there are 2 of these negative 5n's and 2 of these 3's. This will result in a negative 10n plus 6. When we stack the 4 minus n underneath, we also have to make sure that we change this to add the opposite as well. Stacking it does not allow us to have our common terms below, so we have to use the commutative property to switch the negative n in front and the 4 later. Now that they're stacked, we know that 10 negative n's and an extra negative n gives us negative 11 n's, and 6 plus 4 is 10. Now let's take a look at some subtraction rules. To subtract one linear expression from another, again, it wants us to add the opposite of each term. We can use the vertical or horizontal method. In the horizontal method, we use the properties to group like terms together, such as the commutative property. The first step is to distribute. There's 2 to the 4y's and the 3. So there are 2 of these 4y's, and there's 2 of these 3's, resulting in 8y minus 6. We still rewrite the rest of the problem, though, the 7y plus 5 and the minus sign. We then add the opposite. So instead of this minus, we add a plus, and we find the opposite of 8y and the opposite of minus 6. Now we can use the commutative property to put the y's together and the numbers together. Looking at these, we know that there's 1 extra negative, so the result is negative 1y, and 5 plus 6 is 11. Let's find the difference. Again, rewrite any part as add the opposite. we're going to use the vertical stack method just like before. However, we want to rewrite this as add the opposite. So this changes to m plus negative 3 and plus m minus 12. We still have some work to do because we do see a minus sign here, and this changes to plus negative 12. Now that they're stacked neatly, we can combine these together. M plus m is 2m. More negatives combined together make 15 negatives. You can also write it as 2m minus 15. So, you saw vertical and horizontal solving methods when we add and when we subtract linear expressions. Make sure to use all parts when you have to distribute. This single homework question, you must show all adding opposites for full credit. The instructions are to add or subtract to solve. And again, if the problem has subtraction, change the part of the problem to add the opposite, showing all work on all steps. The question is, 2 times the quantity 4x plus 5 minus 3y minus negative 8y minus 3 times the quantity of 6x minus 14 minus negative 13. Your final result should have only 3 terms at the end: the x's, the y's, and the whole numbers. Please review the previous slides on the rules again and work these out showing all the work. Again, send an email with a photo image of the work shown to receive full credit, and prepare for the quiz that will be released on Wednesday. Until next time.